Welcome to this lesson on Remember by Christina Rossetti. This poem forms part of the current IEB Poetry syllabus for 2023 to 2025. A reminder that it's really important that you study this poem for yourself. It's a simple one, but it's really important that you put in the analysis and you put in the effort. This lesson should really just support your studying and not actually replace it. Another reminder that while I try to be comprehensive and detailed in my analysis, you will find other observations and perspectives as you analyze the poem for yourself and as you do a bit more research about the poem, and that's completely fine. Poetry is meant to be subjective, it's meant to be interpreted in many ways, and what's really important is that whatever your analysis is, that you're able to justify it from the poem, that you find evidence for your analysis in the poem, and that you're not just making it up as you go along. When we look at Christina Rossetti, who is quite a popular poet, her poems are featured very often in an English syllabus. She lived from 1830 to 1894, and so she was a Victorian poet. She was the youngest in her very artistic Italian family who lived in London, and she started writing poetry by the age of 12. And remember, the poem we're going to look at now was actually written when she was a teenager. She was very devoted to her religion, and she actually did end up becoming a bit of a recluse in her life. She never married, and her poetry really delves into these ideas that can be very melancholic and deals with themes of transience and the nature of the world and ill-fated love. I do recommend going and reading a bit about Christina Rossetti and her literature that she's written and that kind of stuff. Really a fantastic literary figure and someone who can actually teach you a lot about poetry and writing. So let's read through the poem before we jump into the analysis. So Remember by Christina Rossetti. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning to stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet, if you should forget me for a while and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. So it's a really, really beautiful poem, really all about death and the acceptance of death. And that's why we say that the poem is elegiac. I always struggle with this word because it's kind of like an elegy and kind of like a eulogy that she's giving here. And so it's really, like I say, about death and the acceptance of death by the people who are left behind. And the speaker is reflecting on her own impending death, and she's releasing the person that she's speaking to of the responsibility of remembering her after death, and assures this person that it's fine if they forget her. It's fine if, they have moments where they don't remember her, because it is better for them to forget and be happy than it is for them to remember her and be sad. She'd rather have the person be happy than have them be sad in the remembrance of her. We look quickly at the structure and the form. It's your basic Petrarchan sonnet. At this stage, you should know what Petrarchan sonnets are and what they're all about. It's 14 lines in iambic pentameter with the rhyme scheme A, B, B, A, B, B, A, C, D, D, E, C, E. And we see that we've got an octave first, so 8 lines, and then a sestet, 6 lines. And the octave really sets the scene. It talks about her death that's coming up and what's going to happen, while the sestet provides that volta, the volta being the shift in thinking, the shift in perspective. And in this poem, what we see is that the sestet brings about her realization that the person she's speaking to will probably have moments of forgetting about her, and that's actually okay, because she wants that person to be happy more than she wants to be remembered. So this is how I've done the analysis. You can see that we've got 4 lines of the poem at a time, and the analysis kind of goes around the poem, and obviously the colors relate to the different meanings. So remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning to stay. So that remember me is an instruction, and we see that the poet does want to be remembered. The poet does have this real sense of wanting to be remembered, of wanting to be in people's memories after she's gone. So remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land. That gone away and the silent land is a euphemism for death. She doesn't just say remember me when I die. It's when I'm gone away into the silent land. And the gone far away is really emphasizing that distance between the afterlife and the real world that she's currently in, and that there will be distance between her and the person that she's talking to. When you can no more hold me by the hand, again emphasizes that distance with the no connection, no communication, which links back to the silent land. There's nothing that she can do to connect with this person again. Nor I half turn to go, yet turning to stay. There's a sense that it's a struggle to leave. You know, she's not choosing to leave, but there is no choice in her leaving. When death comes for her, she must go. And even if she wants to turn to stay, she can't, because death will take her. And so there's a sense of finality that even if she wants to stay with this person, she can't, because death has come for her. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. So that remember me is again that instruction that is repeated. So we see a bit of anaphora there. And what's happening here, when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned, she's showing here that it was actually an intimate relationship. You know, day by day they were spending that much time together. And this relationship was one where they spoke about plans for the future, where this other person told her about his plans for her and for their relationship. And so it's kind of this feeling of sadness that these things will only ever be plans. They will never be able to do these plans. They'll never be able to see these plans come to fulfillment, because she's going to be gone. And so this real sense of sadness, sense of futility, that they only stay plans. They will never be more than plans. She says, only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. So she wants to be remembered, and she reminds the other person that that's really all that they can do. Only remember me, because by the time she has passed, it's going to be too late for counsel. It's going to be too late for prayer. So the only thing this person can do is to remember her. And that's why that only there, I've italicized it to really emphasize that only remember me. The last lines, the sestet here, shows that Volta with yet if you should forget me for a while and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. So that yet shows that Volta, that shift in thinking and perspective. So, you know, she's spoken about wanting to be remembered, and she's spoken about, everything that will happen when she dies and after she dies. And now it's that moment of acknowledging the reality of being forgotten. And so she assures the person that, you know what, it's okay. If you should forget me for a while and afterwards remember, like, oh, shucks, you know, why did I just laugh? I'm supposed to be grieving. She says, do not grieve. You know, I want to be remembered, but I'm not entitled to it. You need to continue with your life. You need to get on with your life. So do not grieve when you have forgotten to mourn me or when you have forgotten to remember me. It's fine. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, there again, that euphemism for death is darkness and corruption. And she's saying that, you know, if even there's a little part of me, the vestige of the thoughts I once had, that's left behind, that's, you know, I've left a small mark on you, that's enough. You know, you don't have to remember me every single day and mourn for me and grieve for me. Just a little piece of me that stays with you forever, that's completely fine. Better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. So there we see the speaker's real feelings here, that she doesn't want the person to feel pain in remembering her. And we see that remember now is used differently. It was a remember me, and now it's a no, I'd rather you not remember and be sad. And so we compare the way it's being used in the beginning and the way it's being used now, as we see that her main kind of concern here is not that she is remembered. Her main concern is that the person that she's leaving behind doesn't feel pain, doesn't feel hurt because of her death. So what I've done here is I've put Sonnet 71 by William Shakespeare, No Longer Mourn for Me When I'm Dead. And you can pause here, and it'll be really, really good for you to compare, remember, to Sonnet 71, which really has the same kind of concern of, I mean, the title says it all, no longer mourn for me when I'm dead. That whole idea of I'd really have you move on after I die and be happy than stay mourning me forever and being sad. So this would be a really good practice in comparison and seeing if you can actually link your seen poem to an unseen poem and really working through that. It'll be really great to see if you actually understand the poem. So if you would like to access the presentation that I've used in this lesson, you can use the QR code, or you can go to my Instagram page at Miss Shaw and go to the link in my bio and download the presentation from the Google Drive that is there. Thank you once again for joining me for this lesson. It's a very, very simple poem, really beautiful poem, very sincere and genuine. And remember how important it is that you actually analyze the poem for yourself and get into it and engage with it for yourself.